Когда вы включен?
Ваш микрофон.
Good morning. Good morning, good day, good evening, good night. I'm using these words because so many people around circumpolar north is now here on our educational session, which will be focused on thematic networks of University of Arctic. Thank you very much for joining us, for accepting our invitation to be here. So we organize our meeting by using two official languages, English and Russian. Because of some specific reason, technical reasons, we will make our presentations in both languages. We have a translation process. So we organize translation on the official website of the forum in both languages. That's why please choose in Zoom, please choose your language, English or Russian. And then we will try to follow our program. Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much for joining us. There are lots of us and lots of people are joining our educational session on thematic network of the University of Arctic. It's really good that our Northern Forum allows to have a live online. It's held online, and now we'll have educational session, and I hope that our speakers' materials will be really useful for our audience.
Участие здесь, или те, кто сможет потом позже просмотреть уже в видеоформате, они смогут это использовать для своего лучшего понимания севера,
And of course, all of the materials and speeches of today's sessions will be used in the future. I'm really glad to meet you here. The organizers are the Ministry of Education and Science of the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia. And I'd like to note that in 2018, when the director of University of Arctic was here, we signed the document, and of course, Republic of Sakha-Yakutia is the Central Republic of Circumpolar Arctic. And of course, traditionally, one of the organizers of this session is Northern Studies. Is the Northern Studies Department of Northeastern Federal University. And I'd like to thank Vladlenko Gunurov, the representatives of the Northern Studies Department, Victoria Mikhailova Dubov-Simenova, and others, our colleagues. And I'm really glad that we have as participants different participants from all over the world. It is, of course, Kirsi Latola, who will be my co-moderator today. I'm really glad to see you, Kirsi. Also, I would like to thank our heads of the thematic sessions from different universities and different countries.
Florian Stammler, руководитель тематической сети Arctic Extractive Industries.
It is Florian Stammler from University of Lapland, from Finland. It is Kenji Yoshikawa, who represents University of Alaska at Fairbanks.
Который является лидером, руководителем тематической сети, которая занимается изучением вопросов мерзлоты, мерзлотоведения. Это профессор Ифан Ли.
It is Professor Ifan Li from Harbin Institute of Technology in China.
Тоже представляет очень интересный пример такой тематической сети, которая создана совсем недавно. Он сам будет об этом говорить. Также Елена Антипина, представляющая относительно новую
And Yelena Antipina, who represents a new direction of thematic network, who is working on Arctic indigenous skills from Arctic College of the People of the North. Антонина Винокурова and Людмила Zamorщикова, and she will speak on images of the world of indigenous peoples of the North today. I am really glad that our colleagues choose the thematic network themes. There are Dmitry Osipov, who represents a Center for Strategic Research under the Governor of the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia. Costa Pierce-Berry from University of New England.
С пищевыми системами, океаническими пищевыми системами. И, конечно же, тематическая сеть, которая имеет очень интересное название, Арктика в Азии и Азия в Арктике.
Another thematic network is the Arctic in Asia and Asia in the Arctic.
Я не упомянул, достаточно много людей зарегистрировалось. Сейчас я напомню, что в прямом эфире онлайн на сайте форума трансляция идет на двух языках, параллельно две полноценные трансляции на русском и на английском. Ну и для образовательных целей заранее представители
that we have a live broadcast in Russian and in English in our website.
Ссылку на доступ к Google диску, где тоже есть возможность увидеть и презентации.
And also there are links in Google Drive where you can see all the presentations. Dear colleagues, there can be some technical difficulties. We will have different speeches from very distant places, but I hope that everything will be okay. Now I would like to show you my presentation.
В своей презентации хотел бы немножко показать то, каким образом на примере одного из университетов, в данном
What
случае
about my presentation? I would like to show how in our Northeastern Federal University is handling the thematic networks, how it works, and how our students take part in thematic networks. My experience of working with University of Arctic started in 2014. At that time I was working in Northeastern Federal University. And 6 years ago we took part in only in 2 thematic networks. At the moment we are taking part 19 thematic networks of the University of the Arctic. So, totally 19 thematic networks of the University of the Arctic are interacting with different divisions of Northeastern Federal University. There are different thematic networks and institutes. And with the help of thematic networks, we can find new ways and possibilities for research works.
Сегодняшние спикеры этому подтверждение, я просто уже обратил на это внимание, что действительно они представляют из себя разные вузы. Так вот видим мы, если с вами посмотреть на слайде, то мы видим действительно тематические сети, как поэтапно университет к ним присоединялся.
On this slide, you can see year by year how the thematic networks at Northeastern Federal University was developing.
Является условие, что на начальном этапе, на этапе создания, как минимум должно быть по одному представителю от каждого крупного субрегиона циркумполярного
The main
севера.
condition for starting and beginning the thematic network is that at least one representative from circumpolar region should be at one network. I think that each leader will talk about it today.
Тематически Северо-Восточный федеральный университет сейчас вот таким образом взаимодействует с миром. На следующем слайде тоже можно посмотреть, каким образом
you can see
мы обобщили,
how
мои коллеги из кафедры североведения, Любовь Семеновна, Виктория Михайлова, обобщили за период 2015-2019 год то, каким образом в этих тематических сетях было отработано взаимодействие различных подразделений Северо-Восточного федерального университета. Что это было? Были ли это какие-то образовательные программы, совместные программы?
There were lots of educational programs, research programs,
мобильности академической,
some
и любые другие мероприятия.
mobility projects.
Каким образом? И, кстати, такая матрица очень часто, мне очень нравится, она встречается в ежегодном традиционном выпуске журнала Университета Арктики Shared Voices, где все это можно посмотреть. На следующем слайде,
And all these metrics you can see in our magazines Shared Voices.
Пояснение того, каким образом вот как раз Shared Voices, о которых я сказал, и вот пример справа на этом слайде показывает как раз выдержку из одного из журналов, где показаны все тематические институты и основные их виды деятельности.
Table from magazine Shared Voices.
Ну, мы тоже еще раз просто перечислили, сделали анализ для себя, с кем мы отрабатывали. И дальше я бы хотел немножко, буквально по одному слову, сказать о тематических сетях.
Now I'd like to say a few words about thematic networks which are closer to me personally.
Российского севера, российского сегмента мы давали добро на создание той или иной тематической сети. И вот тематическая сеть, посвященная мерзлоте, следующий слайд можно
So what about thematic network on permafrost?
Да, вот действительно очень интересная форма
взаимодействия. There is a very interesting form of cooperation, and Kenji Yoshikawa will talk about it a lot.
И следующий слайд.
And on the next slide, there is a thematic network on Arctic lingua. The goal of this thematic network is to exchange knowledge on the best practices in teaching and research of Arctic indigenous people, languages, and culture. Thank you. That's it very shortly. And we'll have a really interesting discussion today. And the leader and the director of thematic network of the EU Arctic is Kirsi Latola. I'm giving the floor to Kirsi Latola, please.
you, Mihail. I have also prepared a little presentation about the UARTIC and thematic networks, just to kind of familiarize those of you who are not that familiar with UARTIC and what the thematic networks is. So I would like to share my screen on that, just to give you a very brief, very short introduction to add what Mihail already said. So if you look at the overall UARTIC thematic networks, most of you know that UARTIC focuses on education, research, and expanding and increasing the knowledge of the North to the Northern people. And currently we have over 200 members in UARTIC, and that is comprised of both the higher education institutions, universities, university colleges, and other organizations. And our members come both from the Arctic and from the non-Arctic countries. The research cooperation is UARTIC area that we are mainly focusing in our office at the University of Oulu, where we have a thematic networks and research liaison offices. And when we talk about research cooperation within UARTIC, it's mostly the cooperation that is done within the thematic networks. And our members are engaged in research, education, and development activities with each other. And all these activities are coordinated by the networks themselves. And in addition of working within the network, they also cooperate and work very closely with some of the Arctic Council working groups, indigenous people organizations, and other Arctic organizations, just as IS and IASC, for example. When we talk about thematic networks, the thematic networks are the groups of people working together, as Mihail already explained and showed you the list of the different types of activities, for example, that networks are conducting. This photo was taken a little bit over a year ago when we had our leadership team meeting in Saskatoon in Canada. We meet annually face to face. That is our aim. And next time we will meet during the UARTIC Congress next May 21. Then I have two slides where I have list of all the current thematic networks and UARTIC institutes. As you can see, there are many. There are over 50 currently, and each one of these networks is independent. So they decide themselves what is their focus and what is their main topic. Most work on education, but also on research and research-based education, which means that the most of the educational activities are on master's and PhD level. They are comprised of summer school, winter schools, field courses, but some do even a joint degree programs. And then knowledge sharing and outreach is very important aspect of the thematic networks. We have networks that work on the very kind of climate change issues. We have networks that focus on indigenous arts and handicrafts, on languages, on politics, on geopolitics, and so on. And you will hear a few of those just after this short presentation. This is an updated table from this year's Shared Voices magazine. So we have a little bit changed the format of the activity table. And I don't expect you to read all this, but I just wanted to show this to kind of highlight how many different types of things networks are doing. So there's an education, there's a joint graduate programs, there's research projects, publications, workshop sessions, congresses, and so on is very important. And then outreach as well. We also have networks who focus mostly on art exhibitions. So these are kind of different types of the activities our networks are doing. And without the further ado, I think we should head into the today's agenda. You are most welcome to contact me if you have any questions about thematic networks. I'm also the person in UArtic who handles all the new thematic network proposals, procedures, and the next new thematic networks will be endorsed in the assembly meeting, which will be held back to back with the UArtic Congress in May 21 in Reykjavik in Iceland. And the deadline for the next proposals is by the end of February next year. You can find guidelines and information about that on the website, but you can also always, of course, email and contact me. Okay, so I'll stop my screen sharing, and I would like to give floor to our first speaker, who is Florian Stamler from the University of Lapland in Finland, from the Thematic Network on Arctic Extractive Industries. Florian, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Kirsi. Yes, it's time for Florian. He can prepare his presentation. And yes, we have a couple of people in the Arctic system which we can call as a legend. So Kirsi Latol is one of the legend of the Arctic system. And among the leads of Arctic thematic networks, we also have some legends. So, of course, Florian Stamler and his thematic network Arctic Extractive Industries is one of those things. Пожалуйста, пожалуйста.
Thank you, Mikhail. Is it that I shall share my screen, or will you show the presentation from somewhere?
Вы можете выбрать, как лучше.
Oh, okay. Well, I can share. I think I can share my screen.
Хорошо.
Okay. And it doesn't matter in which language I speak, or does it matter?
There's a translator going on, so you can do it in English or in Russian, whatever you want to do.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kirsi. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mikhail. First, I didn't know that I'm a legend. It's nice to hear. But maybe in terms of the thematic network, I can, in my presentation, try to guess why this is. The network that I'm representing is on the social and human cultural side of Arctic extractive industries. We look basically at what happens when extractive industries come into ever more remote Arctic areas where indigenous people reside and engage in traditional livelihoods, as you see here, for example, reindeer herding on the Yamal Peninsula. You see here some of the logos of our team members.
Okay, sorry, Florian, we can't see, so please just change the slides. Thank you.
Okay. So you don't see any slides, or do you not see that I can?
No, the first one we can see, yeah. Первый слайд мы видим. Ну, если что-то не получается... Да, все, нормально, спасибо.
Yeah, now we got the second one.
Okay, thank you. Good. Well, I understand that we have 5 minutes, so I will not go through all of the goals and aims and objectives here, but basically what this thematic network wants to do, aims to do, the basic principal aim is to maximize the benefits. Sorry, I just switched this off here. To maximize the benefits and minimize the negative consequences of Arctic extractive industrial development. First we did this, and actually maybe this is a good example for today's session. First we did this with research-based educational activities, and we have then after that moved forward to more research-based only for the time being. Here are our principal partners. As Mikhail said, we have representatives from all the principal Arctic regions. I can also add, sometimes the partnerships change, and as Kirsi said, a lot depends on, or everything depends on the initiative of the members of the thematic networks themselves. And so in some years, at some point, some partners are more active than others. Some partners drop out. A lot of that is connected to the most active people either retiring or increasing their activity or changing their interests. So there's obviously dynamics within these thematic networks all the time. Between 2011 and 2018, the main activity that we did was running a PhD program on people and the extractive industries. And we had, I could say probably, yes, that we did divide that into two topical clusters. The first half of the program was dedicated to the social impacts of extractive industrial development in Arctic areas, especially those where indigenous people reside. And the second was dedicated to human security connected to Arctic extractive industrial developments. And here on the slides, you see the 12 courses we had. Together with my co-leader, Gunhild Hågensen-Gjør from the University of Tromsø, we succeeded to acquire funding, Norwegian funding, to run these courses. And because of that, we were able to design a program where we could actually fly in students funded by this by these grants to different places all over the Arctic to hold these courses. And we are especially grateful also to our Russian principal partner, the Northeastern Federal University, who has done a great job in the phase of Italina Ivanova and Mikhail Prisyazhny to host two wonderful courses that we had in this program, which are here listed at number 6 and 9 in Neringrī and Mirny. Here you can see the pictures from the Neringrī course. I'm showing this also because with this Neringrī course, we introduced by the initiative of our NEFU partners a new model where we thought it's actually best if the students spend only half of the time in the course in classrooms, and the other time, the other half, would spend outside getting acquainted with the concrete settings of what happens in the Arctic extractive industries in these places and how people live there. So that's why on the bottom slide, on the bottom photograph, you see the group on the viewing platforms, Matravaya Plashatka, on one of the biggest open pit coal mines, the Ugalny Razrez in the Neringrī area where coal is being extracted. And on the top right, you see how we went to the indigenous village of Yengra, an Evenki village, where we met even with some reindeer herders, even though that was only very short, but it was a memorable experience. So so this course format, I think, was an innovation that has been sustainable, that we have been then later continuing all the other in all the other courses as much as possible. One memorable event was when we went to Mirny and an artist at the from Alrosa in Mirny designed the Arctic logo made of pure diamonds. When we were greeted in the in the diamond processing facility, this was really memorable. So the program, what this program actually did was pioneering in a way, and maybe that's the reason why I was called here a legend, where with Gunhild and colleague Jessica Shadian, we went through a rather lengthy process together with Lars and Kirsi at the University of the Arctic to find out how we can actually award a sort of degree for students who attended enough of our courses and did all the necessary assignments. And in the end, we came up with this model that after 3 successfully attended courses, we will be able to issue a certificate that's like an addendum to somebody's PhD that certifies that they are experts in the human side of the Arctic extractive industries. And we have managed to start the process of handing out these certificates, and those who passed these requirements have got these certificates as addendum signed by the UArctic Vice President of I don't remember what the exact title of
academic, VP academic.
Academic, Eichelberger at least it was, and then it was Castellini and so on. So this was a rather pioneering approach, and I'm very happy that this worked out, and very thankful to our collaborators for making this happen. Now that the funding is over after 2018, our network shifted to more research-based tasks. But the aims are still the same, and I think this is what is actually the uniting elements of these thematic networks, that you can work towards your aims in different ways. Obviously, a lot of what we do in these activities, it depends on the funding. So here is the title of a project that got funding towards the end of our PhD program and the beginning of our more intensive research activities. You can see that some of the same partners were involved in this research project that studied the indigenous people and industrial development in the Arctic and problems of governance and territoriality. The project was led again by Thematic Network co-leader Gunhild Håkansson Gjörf, with prominent participation also from NEFU. We all did thoroughly enjoy the final seminar of that project that Italina Ivanova co-hosted at last year's Northern Sustainable Development Forum in Yakutsk, where you see the speakers in this final activity of our research project here on the slide. And the result that more lasting maybe than a session was a book launch called the Routledge Handbook of Arctic Security that we launched in January 2020. That's also co-edited by our co-leader, and you see that a lot of the Thematic Network principal partners have contributed to that book with publications. And the last activity that came after this book is we have a current project which is a little bit smaller, with the principal partners from NEFU and ourselves, with some other, with University of South Helsinki and Petrozavodsk also as partners that are not really Thematic Network partners in the first place, but they became through being partners in this research project. And on the slide is the project website hosted by NEFU for the Russian part of this project. This is memorable. I want to mention that because the project is actually also funded by a Russian government funding agency, the RFFEI, together with the Finnish Academy. And we look at youth well-being in extractive industry cities in the Finnish and Russian Arctic. That project is not yet ended. It's going to end for us at the end of this year, and for the Russian partners in the mid next year. But our last meeting that was supposed to be in Yakutsk again, had to be cancelled because of COVID-19. We don't really know how we are going to do that. Maybe it's going to be virtually in December. And after that, we do not have yet continuous funding for our Thematic Network activity, which also means we don't know yet what exactly the Thematic Network is going to be doing after mid-2021. New opportunities are open, and new initiatives can be launched inside of the thematic network by any of the partners. That's the nice thing about the structure of the thematic network, that it's open for initiatives by anybody who wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian. That was very interesting and very good. I think that because time is running, we might head into the next presentation, and then in the end, we'll see if we have time for the individual questions, because we are already now a little bit late in our program. But is Kenji Yoshikawa?
Спасибо, Кирси. Да, действительно, спасибо Флориану. Я думаю, что Кирси согласится, что действительно тематическая сеть, которую Флориан представил, одна, наверное, из самых успешных в деятельности университета Арктики.
Yes, thank you, Florian. And of course, I want to also react to the rector of Alaska Fairbanks University, who was the founder of the thematic network on natural hazards, on floods, earthquakes, volcanoes. So it's another legend. Unfortunately, Kenji Yoshikawa, I have received a message from him. He is back from his reindeer to his farm, but there is no internet connection. So he has sent his presentation. So Kenji Yoshikawa is also a legend in the sphere of thematic networks of the University of the Arctic. Then the floor goes to our next speaker representing the Harbin Institute of Technology from China, Yifan Li, who is the coordinator of our latest thematic networks.
I'm sorry, we didn't have the English translation also. But if I understood you correctly, Kenji is not able to do the presentation. He's not here. And we are now heading to Yifan?
Да, yes.
Okay.
Да.
Yes, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
So Yifan, please, floor is yours.
Share, right? Share.
У нас есть презентация профессора, ну он сам, видимо, запустит, пожалуйста.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The thematic network I'm presenting now is POPs and the chemicals of emerging concern in the Asian Arctic. There are two leaders. I'm one, and the other one is Dr. Anatoly Nikolaev from NEFO. Okay, first is research. Okay, this is a research project. The objectives of this project is to establish a thematic network amongst experts of different disciplines to study POPs and chemicals of emerging concern in the Asian Arctic. To study the occurrence, trends, and the sources of POPs and the chemicals of emerging concern in multiple environmental compartments in the Asian Arctic, their impact on the health of the ecosystem and the indigenous people, and their response to climate change. To investigate the differences in sources and fate of the contaminants between Russia and China, and to train students and faculties with Arctic knowledge and research ability. Okay, the figures, the bottom right is the network, monitoring network is started from the north. The north is Arctic side in Russia, and to the south of the Shenzhen city of China. So it's a very long monitoring network. But also it's education involved. We established an international Arctic school under the Arctic HID Training Center, the first local center of Arctic outside the 8 Arctic countries. We supported the Thematic Network project, and we held some winter school on environment and ecosystem in Asia Arctic, and joint training workshop for Arctic sample connections, treatment and analysis, and the new joint Arctic courses among partner institutes, and also exchange programs, including undergraduate and graduate school program. And the pictures down actually is the summer school held in 2019 in Harbin. And the Vice President, Mark Cousin, he also joined this, attended this summer school. But also we consider the indigenous issues, and HIT will financial support, fully support indigenous students from northern countries for each summer or winter school. In 2019, there is indigenous students from Nepal, Miss Kraiva Augusta, and he attended this summer school, have the financial support from HIT. And she said, my understanding is based on my educational background and personal interest in circumpolar regions as Yakutia and Nordic countries. As for me, I'm strongly motivated to immerse into and extend my knowledge on Arctic studies and to further apply it on practice. Therefore, I believe that the summer school is the place to bring out beneficial dialogue through learning. Also, we are planning to hold a workshop in December this year, but of course, you have to be online. The title of the workshop is Pops and Chemicals of Emerging Concern in the Asian Arctic, e-workshop 2020. The objectives of the workshop is to present the achievements in the Arctic research by experts who join this project, their own research area. So in this case, we can understand each other academically. We know, what kind of research work we are doing among our experts, and to exchange the knowledge of the Arctic research and education, to report the development of the program, and to discuss the difficulties caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and to make a plan for the project that can be participated by our partners. So I think this is important because we face quite large challenges because of a COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, finally, this is show the partners of this program. So quite a few universities and institutes who joined this program. Okay, thank you.
Спасибо, профессор. Действительно очень интересный опыт, интересная
Thank you, Professor. This is an interesting thematic network. And Professor Li Yifan is a well-known person because he works in the research institute working on Arctic research at the Harbin Technological Institute. And now I would like to give the floor to the head, the coordinator of our another thematic network, Antonina Vinokurova, representing the Northeastern Federal University. Thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to thank for the expansion of our contacts since we entered the thematic network. And we, as the experts who are representatives of the indigenous people ourselves, it's very important for us. And our main task, the exchange of experience and the best ways to teach languages, literature, and culture of the indigenous peoples of the North. At present, within our thematic network, we have 4 platforms. So it is convenient for students and also for specialists who work, who study their first languages and folklore and cultures of the indigenous people of the North. So we organized a festival, the Linguistic World of the Arctic. And this is the platform where we bring together. First of all, it is organized by students themselves, and we invite experts and scholars and non-governmental organizations, craftsmen, who are involved in applied arts. So we organize workshops, masterclasses, and roundtables. And this year, we also, last February, we did that on the 21st of February, on the Day of Indigenous Languages. And another platform we run is the Aerobic Readings. It's a research conference. So we have had 3 readings already. So first event was supported by the Russian Foundation for Humanitarian Research. So the aim here is to involve young people into academic studies. So people who will study languages, literature, and the folklore. The next platform is the International Neutra Summer Camp. Kirsi showed actually, the last image was the cowberry flower, and so cowberry flower is the symbol of our summer camp, and we called it Neutra, and Neutra means flower. So this flower is very beautiful and very durable, and likewise our international summer camp works in August, which is the most beautiful month of summer. So it is held in the village of Kebergene, where Evenki people live. It's the heart of the Russian Arctic. So we had students and bachelor and master students from Canada, Switzerland, and Korea. And a student from Sweden, Maria Anna, came later to Yakutia. And she received a grant, and so she went to another district, Moma district, and spent winter, the coldest season there, where Evan people live. And our 4th platform is the Linguistic Ecology workshop. So this workshop is also organized by students themselves. For students from other departments who are interested in indigenous languages. And it is also aimed at teachers of indigenous languages. All these 4 platforms are held on the federal level, but we are going to expand them. And the next stage for our thematic network will be research. So we would like to focus more on research, the survey of the linguistic situation, and how indigenous languages function and places where these people live. So our partners will be the Institute of Linguistics from Moscow, the Institute for Humanitarian Research from Yakutsk, from Magadan Local Law Museum, the Institute for Refresher Courses for teachers from Chukotka. And before the pandemic, we had we talked with another thematic network from the University of Lapland, and we agreed on joint efforts. So we are going to look for funding so that we could have a joint project. So this direction requires lots of funding. And another direction is publications and also developing new teaching aids. So we need to train our students how to develop these teaching materials using new informational technologies, new communicative technologies, on material and spiritual culture of the indigenous peoples of the North. Indeed, the teaching aids which were developed by the previous generation of scholars, of course they are fundamental classical works, but nowadays for teachers, for our students, for school children, for wider public, for all those interested and willing to study their own language, they need other sources because indigenous languages are in a very vulnerable position. And so the modern teaching aids must be able to maintain and promote indigenous languages. So we have discussed this direction with all of our partners, and we are working in this direction. Also, I would like today use this opportunity to express my gratitude to Ms. Lyudmila Zamarshikova, who has always been providing support. So we were in one project on studying the languages of indigenous, and with Eleanor Grenoble we went to Berezovka last year, where event people live. And so we had a workshop there for teachers and people who work in this sphere of culture. And we visited another village. So that was before the pandemic, and but we managed to collect good data. In future, Arctic Lingua thematic network will remain to be a platform where we can see, hear, share information. This is an access to international arena. So our So today I also would like to thank the Department of Northern Studies. Thank you. Thank you, Antonina. So you have mentioned the aerobic readings, and I recalled Gail Fundel, and you also mentioned Berezovka. In 1998, I was a postgraduate student, and I was a member of the joint field trip where Gail was, and later she became my academic supervisor, and academician Robik was in that field trip. So we spent about a month at Berezovka in the nomadic herd, and it was a good memory. And so these contacts within the University of the Arctic, they bring new contacts, and they help to find new directions. I would like to give the floor to Lyudmila Zamarshikova, again one of the leaders who is going to talk about the image of the world of the indigenous peoples of the North.
Видно, да? Видно, да?
Да, Людмила Сафроновна, можете запускать, да, видно?
Ну, я довольно быстро постараюсь уложиться.
I will be short.
В принципе, сеть действительно одна из старейших. Она была создана в 2006 году в Норвегии. Одна из первых сетей, которую вел наш университет. И, возможно, даже с течением времени и в связи с тем, что открываются новые сети, нам надо будет как-то немножко пересмотреть направление работы сети, где-то с кем-то соединиться, кооперироваться. Как сказала Антонина Винокурова, действительно, мы, когда открылась сеть Arctic Lingua, мы стали с ними очень тесно работать. У нас есть хороший опыт проведения совместных мероприятий. И мы еще хорошо работаем с университетом, вернее, с тематической сетью, которую ведет Бурятский университет. Называется Language Documentation, по-моему, там Жавгал Бадагаров. И вот с ним мы тоже имеем как бы хорошую совместную работу. Вот как раз кадры, которые мы, снимки, вернее, мероприятия, которые проводит наша сеть. Наша сеть проводит очень много научных мероприятий. Так получилось, что с самого начала тематическая сеть была направлена на научные исследования. Научные исследования образа мира, то есть научные исследования в области концептуализации мира, перцепции мира. Что такое холодный мир, что такое арктический мир, каковы ценности, какова история, как все это переплетается в современном мире, как это все уживается, адаптируется, и что остается незыблемым, а что меняется. Конечно, основной здесь показатель, индикатор язык, но через язык мы выходим и на культуру, ну и на многие вещи, которые связаны с ментальностью. Значит, вот у нас фотография с
Here you can see a picture of our winter. There are lots of fishes. There are pictures from our conferences where we took part, and
холодный мир и этика исследований воображения севера. Это imaginary of the North.
It was a conference, The Imaginary of the North. There is a very interesting laboratory in Quebec, Canada. We are working with them during 5-6 years, and the last conference on North anthropology, on adaptation of cold. And this conference gave an opportunity to understand that at whole the cold is a base of creative things. And now we're launching online program, educational program. And it's called Anthropology of the Cold. And the second, one of the main points is it's inter-thematical networks with Buryatia, Republic of Buryatia. It's a picture from Canada. We were taking part in international conference, and we got opinions that the cold is something that connects us and something that divides us. And the second direction of work on which we try to focus is ecological problems. So from problem of losing language, we went to the problem of the linguistic problems. It's a very interesting topic, and you're welcome to investigate this thematic together. And if you're interested, please welcome. We're ready to cooperate. Okay, I'd like to say that we are going in time. And it seems like the University of Arctic has a really good tradition, and when you are going to the website of thematic networks, all of the thematic networks are grouped, and it's very good for us. And I would like to give the floor
к лидерам тематических сетей, но которые в блоке дискуссии, обсуждения, это руководителю тематической сети.
I'd like to give the floor to the head of the thematic network of the University of Arctic.
Который представляет у нас, это наш коллега Барри Коста-Пирс.
Thematic network in ocean food system to Barry Costa-Pierce from the University of New England. So we're giving the floor to Barry Costa-Pierce.
Я тогда вам сейчас даю возможность слово высказаться по здесь, и дальше у нас еще там несколько в дискуссионном блоке остается. Пожалуйста.
Kirsi, do you have something to add?
I just wanted to thank all the speakers. I think it was really useful to see how different types of activities are being conducted within the thematic networks across the whole circumpolar north. Was there an idea of if there was any questions to the previous speakers, because there's a little bit time, or did you want to go straight to the panel?
Ну, я бы здесь, может быть, Кирси...
I'd like to ask Ludmila if she can share the URL of the blog on the Anthropologia Holoda the anthropology of the cold here on the chat, that would be helpful.
Так, у нас вопрос к Людмиле Заморщиковой.
На что? На сеть или на... Сейчас посмотрю. Хорошо, посмотрю.
Да, Людмила Сафронова хочет использовать, видимо, да, для расшифровки, для ответа один из своих слайдов. Да, пожалуйста. Удобно.
Нет, я не хочу ничего использовать, просто я хочу сказать Флориану, что это готовится очень большой образовательный онлайн-курс, и в рамках этого курса...
I'd like to say to Florian that we are preparing a very big project. It will be an online project on anthropology of cold. So we are working on it currently.
Да, спасибо. Ну, это как раз вот был уточняющий вопрос. Действительно, Людмила Сафронова уже сказала о том, что достаточно большая такая программа выиграна Северо-Восточным федеральным университетом на разработку таких курсов. И очень хорошо, что в эти курсы попадут материалы, которые были созданы в рамках тематических сетей Университета Арктики. Да, пожалуйста, еще какие есть вопросы к нашим уважаемым спикерам, те, кто вот представил деятельность своих тематических сетей. У меня был бы вопрос вот к нашему коллеге из Китая.
I have a question to our colleague from China, to Li Yifan.
На данный момент вот я
At the moment,
деятельность вашей тематической сети представители российских вузов. Спасибо.
how do you work and cooperate with representatives of Russian universities in your thematic network? Could you please tell about it? Yifan Li.
Yes, thank you for the good questions. And because this project was actually applied last year, so we didn't have enough time to carry this out, but still we have done quite a lot of work. And we work with NEF closely, and we set up all the monitoring sampling sites, and we exchange the ideas, and also we had the summer school, winter school together. But also, of course, we have quite a challenges. The most challenges is the samples we collected, but we have difficulties to transport them because, as you know, the major reason. But we still work on this. And another for other universities, institutes, we will hold a workshop this December. So we like to discuss among all these groups how to proceed and how the other groups, other universities can be also involved with this project. Okay, this is my answer.
Спасибо большое, профессор.
А можно еще вопрос?
But I like to take this opportunity. I like to take this opportunities to thank NEFO for the very strong support.
Спасибо, профессор. Вам еще один вопрос, пожалуйста.
And another question to you, Li Fan.
Да, Людмила Сафронова, можете задавать.
Да, у меня вопрос такой, я не совсем, может быть, я просмотрела, в сети там, по-моему, есть проблемы.
In your thematic network, do you have a problem with COVID-19? So, in which aspect do you have with the pandemic? And I have a student who is studying pandemic situation in policy, or I'm mistaken?
I'm sorry, I cannot catch it. Can you repeat the question again, please?
Ваша сеть как-то в круг интересов сети входит проблема ковида?
Does your thematic network works and with pandemic situation?
COVID-19 is a part of activity of research interest of your thematic network.
It is the research work, right? And I'm not so sure if I understand the questions. You're asking for something side, each city, or because the voice is not clear here at my side. So we have 3 cities. In Russia, we have actually we have 3 cities in China too. So we have in total we have 6 cities which we have the monitoring site. And also there is another question is we have the air sampling equipment set up in Chinese cities, but we, for some reason, maybe we're still waiting for the paperwork. We cannot install the air samplers in Russian side. So this is another problem for the project. So sorry, my camera didn't work. Doesn't work.
Спасибо. Спасибо, профессор. Спасибо. Ну, действительно, очень
Thank you, Professor.
хорошее, скажем, желаем будущего новой тематической сети. И поскольку мы с вами говорим, все-таки сегодня наша образовательная сессия, она направлена на рассмотрение взаимодействия Севера и Азии.
Our session today is about cooperation of Arctic and Asia. So I see that our colleagues from University of Hokkaido joined us. So now I would like to give the floor to the Vladlen Kugunurov. And he has a report on experience of scientific and educational partnership between Northeastern Federal University and Hokkaido University.
Здравствуйте еще раз. Спасибо большое за предоставленную возможность.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to take part in this session. I'm really glad to see you all. And today we have a discussion on cooperation of Arctic and Asia. And many years ago, the president of University of Arctic gave us an idea to make our university to build cooperation between another universities. And now I'd like to open the demonstration. My presentation. We cooperate with one of our strategic partners, with one of the best universities. It is the University of Hokkaido for many years. And as Lyudmila Safronovna has said, we are cooperating in different fields. And I would like to express my gratitude to our partners.
Харбинский политех и другие наши вузы-партнеры, которые сотрудничают в области изучения Арктики и Севера.
And to other our partners with whom we are researching the problems of Arctic.
В Азии оно направлено на такие направления, как
So our cooperation is aimed at research program, as to academic mobility. We have joint master's program, and we are the participants of the program of Japanese government.
Университет Хоккайдо победил в 2014 году и с 2015 года 5 дальневосточных
So
университетов.
since 2015, 5
будучи проректором
universities taking part in this project.
начинал этот проект, и мы рады, что за эти годы более 30
And we are really happy to have more than 30 students from NEFU who were taking part in this program.
И здесь вот представлено несколько слайдов. Я быстро пролистаю, чтобы время
There are slides about our academic mobility.
гордостью этой программы.
We are really proud of them.
Программы были летние и зимние
And
школы,
one of the
и
part of our program is summer and winter schools, but because of pandemic, we had stopped them.
сводная таблица по
There is a table
мобильности со стороны наших
which
студентов.
images amount of participants from NEFU and Hokkaido University who were taking part in our schools. And we hope that in the future it will be continued.
Более 30 студентов смогли пройти эти стажировки в рамках программы AJ3. Есть уникальная база Якутского научного центра и нашего центра по изучению
There is a unique station, Spasskaya Pod Station,
известного профессора, ученого Трофима Христофовича Максимова,
based by
нашего хорошего
scientists Maximov and
благодаря этой дружбе вот на
Professor Yatsukami Momoto. And with their help, we are holding our summer schools.
научной лесной станции Спасская
And
Падь.
we are holding the field works in Spasskaya Pod Station.
И я считаю, что одним из важных
And I
результатов
think that one of the most important results
в том числе по линии
of the
университета
joint
Арктики,
program
тематических сетей должно стать
should be
количество или реализация
the amount of
совместных
realized joint educational programs of
самого
network
высшего
programs
степень интернационализации высшего образования. Вот мы благодаря
as the highest level of internalization of the education.
совместную магистерскую программу
Since September
по
2017, the joint master's program in the direction Ecology and Nature Management was organized.
онлайн-обучение. Также вот благодаря этому сотрудничеству была создана совместная лаборатория между
Also, we have based a scientific center,
студенты отмечают благодаря
and
этой
our students
развитие своих навыков,
are saying that they are developing their international communication skills, and of course their research results are bettering, and they get deeper knowledge and improved teamwork. Of course, it's very important that
финансовый мы со своего эндаумент фонда
each
стажировки
participant of the network should support, and
наших общежитиях для иностранных студентов и для иностранных
as support we are
якутских наших коллег и студентов
providing,
и так далее.
removing the language barrier to international students. And
Я поэтому в завершении хотел бы
in
еще
the
раз
end, I would like to express my gratitude one more time, our partners, for the development of the thematic networks, and I hope that we will have a fruitful cooperation in creation of new projects and research works. Thank you very much.
Действительно, вместе мы можем сделать очень многое. И я очень рад, что вот сейчас к нам все-таки удалось присоединиться тоже нашему заявленному спикеру Елене Егоровне Антипиной, директору Арктического колледжа народов Севера из поселка Черский. Это Нижняя Колыма, это очень далеко. Это колледж, который имеет собственное стадо оленей. Вот буквально предыдущие 2-3 дня Елена Егоровна со своими студентами была там на выезде. Вот, и я просто вспоминаю, что в свое время вот был счастлив работать, да, в стенах Северо-Восточного федерального университета в 2015 году, как раз на встрече Университета Арктики в Улан-Удэ в Бурятии. Я тогда представлял Арктический колледж народов Севера на вступление в членство.
In 2015, I actually introduced the Arctic College in Ulan-Ude in Buryatia to enter the thematic network, and they are now a member of the thematic networks, and they are working on they coordinate the thematic network on traditional traits. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Right now, we are working with the Ministry on Development of the East, and we are discussing the plans which we are going to use in our work with the Agency on the Development of Human Capital. So I think that the future of our educational institution is rather bright, and we are very glad about that. So I would like to thank Ivan Yefimov, who has come to the Arctic. So we had a very long plane delay, but so he's still at our institution. I would like to tell you about our college. So our Arctic College of the Peoples of the North started in 1973 when the Republic's Department of Vocational Education opened the vocational school in Chersky. And then this vocational school was transformed into the Arctic College of the Peoples of the North. So our commission was to prepare specialists working in the traditional industries and also social institutions of our region. So now it's a state-funded educational institution. So it is a small-scale college. So we have 12 people in each educational group. So in total, we have some 100 students, and 70% of them are representatives from indigenous ethnic groups. So the majority of our specialities are agricultural. We train mechanics, we train gas station operators, forestry specialists. We have a program on rational nature use. and also reindeer herder and cook. So our educational institution provides courses on spot. So for reindeer herders, young reindeer herders, they don't have to come to our college and leave their settlements or their communities. So they take some courses in the places where they live. So where they live. So such educational spots have been open in several districts of the Republic, and we have trained some 100 students from high school students and from young working people. Since 2016, our college students have been participating in the Arctic Skills competition. So first they went to the competition to Dudinka in Krasnoyarsk Krai. And in 2018, the International Reindeer Herders Arctic Skills competition was held here in Yengra. And we had over 50 reindeer herders from abroad, from Krasnoyarsk Krai, and from the districts of our republic. So the purpose of this contest was to attract to raise the public awareness about reindeer herders training in the world and in Russia. So they had to show that they can deploy a nomadic tent, and then they can explore the reindeer camp, and also competition on some cooking, making fire, and so on. So last year we had Arctic Skills competition on the regional level, on our district level. So we had participants from only our district. So again, designing of the reindeer camp, reindeer mechanic, and driving a snowmobile, and so on. Our college cooperates with international organizations involved in reindeer herders, for example, the Bebo or Sami Educational Center, and also the Reindeer Herders Center Ikautakena, with Snow Change, non-governmental organization from Finland, with the Association of Reindeer Herders of the World. And now the college is a member of the University of the Arctic. So we are developing and we are collaborating with various international and all Russian institutions. Also in 2017, the Arctic College was enlisted in the newsletter in the list of best people and institutions of the North. So in future, we are planning, given the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council in 2021-23, we are planning an international workshop to discuss the prospects of Arctic tourism development. Last June, the Bear Islands Reserve was established in our district. So in 2022, we are planning another Arctic skills competition in Murmansk. Again, in various directions of reindeer herders activity.
И также наше образовательное учреждение ведет большую плановую работу по открытию специальной. Вот такая.
Also, we are thinking about opening new specialities, new programs in different fields, and I hope that the educational institutions working with us will remain with us. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Елена. Yes, Elena reminded us that Russia is going to overtake the chairmanship from Iceland quite shortly. And we remember Finland was recently a chair in the Arctic Council, and this period was very, very successful. So now the floor goes to Kirsi Latola for monitoring. I know that you have questions to everyone, so maybe we can start discussion now and think about our plans.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to note one thing when I was listening to the last speaker is that we have such a huge diversity among the thematic networks and UArctic members within the UArctic, which is a very nice thing, I think. But I had a few questions in my mind, and one was really related to the topic this morning or today, was that when you think about all the existing cooperation that we already have, is there still something, some fields or some points that you feel that we should increase the cooperation, particularly between the Arctic and the Asia? So if anyone has any ideas and any thoughts that what is missing, what are the fields that we need to cooperate more?
Так, ну пока коллеги думают, да, очень интересный такой вопрос, который как раз...
While our colleagues are thinking, I think there is another one interesting question for our educational session. I recalled a funny episode which happened in Ulan-Ude in 2015 when the Arctic College was joined the University of the Arctic. So we were talking with the vice rector from Hokkaido University, and Lars Kullerud, and the rector of the University of Hokkaido asked us whether we can open our own thematic network. It was only 5 years ago, and Lars laughed and said, "Of course, you are a member of the University of the Arctic and you can enjoy all the opportunities." So our educational session is to demonstrate again that even non-Arctic members of the University of the Arctic actually can initiate and coordinate thematic networks, and they can be very active in various fields. So who is ready to answer questions from Kirsi, from the director of thematic networks?
We have actually only one thematic network that is led by China, which is the YIFAN's thematic network that was endorsed in last meeting earlier this year, as he was saying that it's a new one. And I'm very pleased that we have a thematic network led by Asian organizations. And I would very much like to see some networks led by Japanese, Hokkaido, or some other countries. So that is really nice. But if it's not something that anyone has any ideas, we could think about in a different routes and think about the other issues. I just wanted to note that there was a little discussion about the COVID situation and what it has impacted. And earlier this summer, we did a survey with the thematic networks, and where we asked about how they have faced the corona situation and have they had to cancel a lot of activities and so on. And we have just recently published a report about that questionnaire, and you can find that from the website as well. What is of course clear that the most of the education and research had to be postponed, changed to online, but there are also cases where the research was conducted by the research stations or by the local communities in the Arctic. So that this is the way that there has been now a lot of discussion among the researchers, that because the corona situation and maybe the future is more or less like the same, is the fact that researchers might not necessarily be able to travel to the northern locations anymore, and therefore there might be a much more effort put into the research stations and the local and indigenous communities who live in the Arctic, because they could support the researchers. So is that something that you think that, I know Trofim, for example, from Spasskaya Part, is that something that you have thought, particularly our colleagues in Northern Russia and Shersky, that you would have the capacity or willingness to support more the researchers from the outside and help them in their research if they are not able to travel to the north? This is not exactly the education, but it just came to my mind.
Да, пожалуйста, коллеги, очень интересный вопрос.
It's an interesting question. Yes, recently we had a meeting of a small work group preparing the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council. And I know that actually an idea from the directorate of the thematic networks, and Lars Kullerud mentioned that here in Yakutia, in Tiksi, in Cherksky, maybe there it makes sense to establish some centers of supporting researchers who come from outside. So we have, for example, this Svalbard case, where they have an excellent station for any field work, and maybe it's a good and very productive idea. So do we have other ideas or thoughts?
Then I will have a second thought for you to bring. In your Arctic, we have been discussing and thinking about the virtual mobility, because now students can't travel, and there's definitely a need to do the more online education. There has been also a lot of discussion how the students could have the mobility done as a virtually. Would that be something that you would be keen on developing more in the future? More online education and more also a student mobility that is done only virtually, not physical travels. I can see Vladen is nodding. Yeah.
May I comment?
Absolutely,
Sorry.
please.
Yeah, I have a question.
It's really
in my mind.
sorry.
For a long time, actually. What's the relation between thematic network and north-to-north mobility program? What is the relationship?
Because north-to-north mobility is organized in different ways in different countries. In some countries, it's organized by the national agencies. So they are just looking at the UARTIC as a kind of a, how you say it, it's not the compulsory to have a north-to-north done by the thematic networks, but of course you have to be a UARTIC members. Whereas in some countries, like for example in Norway, the north-to-north office is run by the UARTIC personnel, which means that they can really look at the connection between the thematic network and the mobility applications. So there is we have been discussing this a lot during the past years, and there is a kind of a hope that students who are doing education within the thematic network would have the priority in north-to-north grants. And in some cases it works, but in some cases where the north-to-north grants are given by and the decisions are made by the bigger national organizations, that's not always so visible. Let's put it this way. There is a high wish for that, but in some cases it works, some cases it does. Vladen, you wanted to comment?
Yes.
The previous point.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Come back to your suggestion about the virtual mobility. It's really important because of this pandemic, we also decided to postpone all our mobilities until the better times. And now we have asked our partner universities to consider this opportunity to conduct the virtual mobility. And our university is ready to offer the online courses, courses related to Arctic as well. And I think this is really, from one side, really good opportunity to expand the so-called digital transformation in education and to develop this kind of mobility. And as I know, the University of the Arctic has established a new project which is called Leire Institute of Distance Education. We all know about the program of circumpolar studies, which was which is quite successful, and our students have also taken part in these courses. And we, from our side, are ready to offer Arctic-related courses. So please, colleagues, we would be very grateful for such cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very good to hear. Thank you. Yes, Leire Institute is one of the newest institutes, and it's based on the previous coordination of circumpolar studies. And they are now thinking also the new ways of how to go ahead. Yeah. Very good. Any other ideas or comments about the working more online in the future? Because it seems to be that this will be the direction of the world. We cannot go back to how it used to be, but there are much more this kind of online meetings and online education, and also the new ways of doing things like virtual tourism is one way I've heard that you wouldn't need to travel, but you could just actually use your computer and think that you are kind of a three-dimensional, what is that, virtual class thing and all these things. So that's fascinating, actually. Okay. Do you have any other questions in your mind? So maybe it's time to start wrapping up then. What my co-lead is saying. Co-chair.
Да, я согласен, Кирси. Да, это, наверное, тоже.
Yes, I agree, Kirsi. Maybe yes, it's time to summarize our session. And before giving the floor to you again, I would like to thank everyone for taking part, because we have a very respectful audience here in the Zoom and also on YouTube channel. And we understood that it wouldn't be possible to choose the time suitable for everyone, but people from Canada and from United States were not able to join us, but they have sent their presentations, and we actually feel their presence in the UA. And those who have been with the University of the Arctic for a long time, even these people, they have learned something new today. So Kirsi, again.
Thank you. I think that what we have learned today, it has been really interesting, because it's clear that there are many forms and many ways of collaboration existing within the UArctic. And what is really nice to see that there's a diversity, which means that there are different sizes of organizations and universities and university colleges that are working together. The topics are very diverse, the forms are very diverse, and we have a very research focused and we have a very educational focused. And I think that is really the richness of the UArctic, which is also a great platform and provides you tools also for finding the students. And I think that has been very clear today, and I'm really, really happy that I had a chance and that I could participate this discussion today. It has been very, very eye-opening as well for me. And I just wish that for the future, we will be able to continue, and I'm sure that we are able to continue the same route. We might head a little bit more into the digital world, a little bit more on the online systems, but I think we are learning while we do, and we are getting better all the time. And I think that by working virtually and working online, we also have much more opportunities and for the future as well, for the students and for the mobility and everything. So I would really like to thank you all for participating in this discussion, for giving your presentations, and of course for our host for organizing things. This has been really useful. So thank you very much from my behalf as well.
Thank you, Kirsi. In conclusion, I would like to thank everyone. And again, comes to my mind, Kenji Ishikawa wasn't able to join us. He's a founder of the Permafrost Thematic Network. And I remember how we organized a field school in Svalbard on Spitsbergen when 4 universities united their efforts, NEFU, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and University of Hokkaido, and UNIS. And in all of these universities afterwards, they started their own summer schools. And UNIS was happy because it attracted a lot of new students and new professors. So when we hold some joint events, we become stronger in our own activities. So So University of the Arctic is not only as a badge on my jacket, but it is also in my heart. So thank you for your participation, and see you again at various platforms in the frame of new collaborations and new thematic networks.
Поздравляю.